This is Shylo, Bjiold, and you are listening to Grit and Grace. Hey, everybody. Welcome, dolls, today. This is another episode of Grit and Grace. I am Shylo Bjiold, and I have Mama Doll herself, Dana Hill, with us. Let's get started. Oh my gosh, so excited. Dana, I know you are driving, so thank you so much for making this happen. We had some crazy technical difficulties. We don't care. We don't care. You're here.
And no, we don't.
Happy.
We're here.
We are so happy. So you said you're out of Washington and I am out of Minnesota, and I think it's fabulous. And I know that we're both experiencing some fires. I don't know if you're experiencing the fires there, but the effects of all these fires you might be experiencing, because I came home yesterday from California. So I was out in California with my girlfriend, Candace. We were having a great time and nobody was talking about it, which was crazy because it was right there. Like there's these major fires going on over there. But while I was out there at home, all the smoke from Canada had come down from those fires. And when I got to the airport, that's what I smelled. It was just full of smoke. It's so hazy here. So we just want to give a shout out to our firefighters and all the volunteers, because seriously, they are the MVPs right now, and they're exhausted and they're working so hard. And it is a tragedy. A lot of people are losing their homes, their cabins, and we're losing a lot of national forests. So, oh my gosh, Dana, I was looking, and for our viewers, our listeners, so much here. You have an incredible, I want to say foundation, but you are changing the world. And how it all got started is so cool. So I'm not going to share that. I'm going to let you, but let's just talk a little bit. Who are you? Where are you from? How did this start? Black Doll Affair. I absolutely love it on Instagram. But yeah, you're Mama Doll. So let's talk about how this started.
Well, first of all, I can see the smoke from Washington State, from Canada. We woke up last week with a red sun. It was the weirdest thing. And I thought, why is the sun red? I mean, when I say red, it looked like it was photoshopped. And I Googled it. It's the I guess the oxygen in the air meeting the different colors of a rising sun. And I just thought it's rather apocalyptic, but shout out to our first responders. It just seems they're not getting a break.
Oh, I know. It's crazy. It's all over the country. There's fires all over the country. So I know you're driving, but we're so grateful where you're on. And now you're in Washington. Where did this all get started? Where did this Black Doll Affair, where did it all get started?
So it all started, I mean, it's a really long story and I'm happy to tell it, but it really all started with my parents. The movement itself started in Atlanta in 2007. Actually, in 2006, I was watching the Oprah Winfrey Show, and in 2006, she had a show about skewed images. And the topic was, what's it like to be you? You know, whether you're Asian and 6'5", or, you know, black with blue eyes, just people walking through life differently. And I was, and I'll get to this part, but I want to say how we got started first. But this on me at a time where I had just sort of had a self-discussion about who I was and my walk through life as a Black woman. And so watching the Oprah Winfrey Show, and I thought, okay, this is a show for me. I'm interested to see what everybody else has to say about being different in this world. And she had one of her guests was Carrie Davis. At the time, Carrie was 18 years old. And she had a 7-minute documentary that landed on Oprah's desk called A Girl Like Me. And in that documentary, she was just talking with her teenage friends, you know, with this handheld camera, very casually, about what it's like to be a Black girl. And mainly they were talking about colorism, which is the issue of being Black and the various shades, or being really, you know, this is the same sort of thing that happens even in you know, Indian societies and Latin societies, but basically the different shades of brown. And so the light-skinned girls were talking about how hard it is for them because everybody automatically thinks that when they walk into the room, they've got an attitude and they think they're better than everybody else, and they get called high yella, and she thinks she's, white. And then the dark-skinned girls were talking about how they get teased for being dark-skinned. And then one girl said, I started to really embrace who I am by going natural with my hair. I took out all the chemicals in my hair, and my mother really embraced it at first. And then the more my hair grew out, she said, Mom was like, okay, that's enough. You're starting to look too African.
Oh.
And I know, right?
Okay.
And same reaction. Wow.
So let's stop there. Let's stop there really quick. So let's just talk about that really quick, because I think this is important. Isn't it? And this is me asking you, do you feel that the mother was afraid of the reactions of others, and that's why she said that? Was it the fear? Yes. Okay. So yeah, Mom, being in the type of time it was, she knew, just like if you talk about anything at the time, like even being gay, like we can compare it to many different things, like, oh gosh, coming out. It's not that they don't love you. They're so afraid of what other people are going to do to you and say to you and make you feel. I can see that. It's very sad, but it's a reality.
It's a reality, and it's also their own unchecked low self-esteem. And that's really what the Black Doll affair is about. These mothers are, of course, that's Mom's natural reaction because she wants to protect her child from what, she perceives as the problem that society is going to tease their child. But if Mom's not empowered to say the right things, then this is just this cycle of low self-esteem. So Carrie, 7-minute documentary, she ends it with going into a daycare center in Brooklyn, and she reconducted the doll test. A lot of people know about the doll test. Some people don't. For those that don't, I'll just tell you very quickly. They're the reasons our schools are desegregated. In 1954, during Brown versus Board of Education, Kenneth and Mamie Clark was brought into that courtroom to sort of dumb down internalized racism for the Supreme Court. And they created this doll test where you take identical dolls. There's no reason for these children to choose one doll over the other or prefer one doll over the other than skin color. And they ask very simple questions. Which doll is the good doll? Which doll is the bad doll? And which doll do you prefer? And, they ushered in these kids, and all of them were choosing the black doll as bad, ugly, and the one they didn't want to play with. Most of the kids identified the white doll as the good doll. And so Carrie talked about that in her doll test. And, you see these school age kids, I mean, as young as 4 and 5, in 2006, choosing the black doll as bad and ugly. And I'm just like blown away. I can't believe that, we're still dealing with this. And more importantly, I can't believe how young they are, rejecting themselves.
Right.
So she goes to this little girl that looks a lot like me as a little girl. And the little girl fails the doll test with, all the questions are asked. And I believe this is the moment that she got on the Oprah Winfrey Show. She goes back to this little girl after she's identified the black doll as bad, ugly, and the one she doesn't want to play with. And she says, well, let me ask you this. Which doll looks like you? And in that moment, this little girl, you could see this doll test at blackdollaffair.com if you click doll test. But in that moment, this little girl looks at Carrie as if super hurt and super annoyed that she is now being forced to identify with the black doll. So she just pushes the doll towards Carrie without saying a word. And Carrie slows down the video. And I just wept. And I was like, that's how she got on the Oprah Winfrey Show right there, that moment. And I thought, wow, I get it now. I get why I was teased for being so black. I get why I ate lunch in the girls' bathroom when I was a little girl because I was, perfect for bullying. I had eczema, so my skin was cracked and it oozed, and they called me alligator woman. I had no friends. I understood why I was rejected by the kids. And then I understood in that moment why principals and teachers would come in and out of the girls' bathroom year after year and pretend or act as though I wasn't there, as if they didn't see me. I understood after I grew out of society's so-called ugly and started to blossom into society's so-called beauty and started trying to get an agent in the modeling industry. I understood why I couldn't get an agent. You know, people on the street would be like, "Oh my God, you look like a doll, you should model." And so I thought, okay, I'll go into the modeling agencies. Rejection. You know, these modeling agencies could have 52 white girls with blonde hair and blue eyes, but they only need one black girl. And so I was rejected. And then ultimately, in this full circle moment that created the Black Doll affair, ultimately, I ended up going to school and I thought, I'm going to use my voice, forget about my face, and maybe I'll create something where I can use my face and my voice. So I went to school for television broadcasting. And then after working at Fox News, the entertainment version of Fox, Deco Drive in Miami, I decided that I didn't really want to be on television, that I wanted to be a publicist. So I went to school for business marketing and communication and ended up working for Dan Moreno. And as his publicist, I started to publicize all of these professional players' products. And when their models didn't show up, one of them came to me and was like, "Dana, you know, these models," this was like, you know, Party Time USA in South Beach. "These models aren't showing up. So why don't you do it? You know, be the face of our campaign. You could market it. You could be the publicist and you could be the model."
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, that's a really good idea. So I took that idea, put it on the busiest street in the world, 52nd and Broadway in Times Square. And I created this campaign called God Spokesmodel. And the concept behind it was to give me a seat at the table. Let me teach you how to market at us, not to us, which is why I love the ad sign on social media today. Mm-hmm. And I'll also be the face, you know, sort of a one-stop shop. Well, Clear Channel said that 1 million people a day would pass my billboard. And they were right. 1 million people a day passed over my billboard. I got like no takers. And this was 2005. And I got Wendy Williams. She did call me. Wendy Williams was the one person that responded to me. And she was at Victor's Restaurant. And she saw my billboard. It was 52 feet high by 32 feet wide. Times Square billboard. And she called me and she was like, "Oh my God, who are you? This is huge. You've got to call me." And I did, but her people wouldn't let me get through. And I called and I called. And finally I was like, I got to take my billboard down. 3 months into this, I'm not getting any takers. And then in the last month where I was about to consider taking another 3 months, a white guy took out a billboard looking for a wife, a millionaire. And every single news station that I contacted just covered his story. They thought it was the coolest thing. They went wild. So I thought, I know how this works. In the news industry, they only take one story type a quarter. I'm going to start hearing, we've already done a billboard story. So, you know, so anyway, long story short, I took my rejected billboard off of Times Square and moved to Atlanta and found myself watching this Oprah Winfrey show. And in that moment, when that little girl slid that doll towards the camera, I fell apart. I understood that all of the rejection in my life was because I was the Black doll. And so I created the Black Doll affair.
Wow. Honestly, I do have goosebumps thinking, you know, I love when I hear a story and like when you hear that full circle part of the story, because we never hear the full circle. You know, we always hear, well, the glamour part. Like, look at what she's doing and look at this and this and this. It's interesting that you worked with Dan Moreno. How is he? Like, how was that experience first? Because I want to know what it was like in South Beach doing that, because that's an interesting place to be. South Beach is still an interesting place to be. But how was it to be working with Dan Moreno, working in that industry in South Beach? Like crazy. You were in it. You were in it, woman.
I was. Well, I have to say, so South Beach is a little different. I was in South Beach in its heyday. And one of my dear friends is like one of the biggest casting directors in Hollywood, Dorano Fair Casting. And he and his brother were like, the doormen of South Beach. So I went to like every party between being besties with him and being on Dan Marino's team. I experienced South Beach different from most people. I get that. But it was good. Life was good. Danny was, at the top of his career. And I was also at the time working with his business agent, Ralph Stringer. And Ralph had Jason Taylor and OJ McDuffie. And I mean, this really was the heyday of the Dolphins. So these guys were my clients.
That's great.
And so I mean, what can I say? It was fun. I got a fun story about how I met Danny and how I got the job. Because
let's hear it. Let's hear that story, because then we're going to go into the rest, because you have a lot.
Okay.
Like this is incredible. I want to hear that story though. Let's let everybody in on that. That's fun.
Okay, so how did I meet Dan Moreno? So after I left Deco and went to school at Lynn University for business marketing and communication, I only needed to take 2 years to get my degree because I had already gone to school for television broadcasting. So I was friends with Q is what we called him. He was at the time vice president of Hooters, HOA, Hooters of America.
Okay.
And he was also opening up like 28 different restaurants with the partners of Hooters. And one of those concepts that they had been trying to get was a steakhouse for Dan Marino. And, they'd been trying for years to get a meeting with Danny. So Q and I were supposed to be going to dinner in Palm Beach. And he called me and was like, D, I got to back out on you. I'm not going to be able to make it. And I'm like, why? What's up? And he's like, we finally got a meeting with Danny. And I was like, so what does that mean? He's like, well, we're having a business meeting. And I was like, okay, I still want to go. And in my mind, I'm just thinking like, I want to meet Dan Marino, and there's no reason to cancel. And and plus he was like, afterwards, you can meet us. We'll probably go for drinks. And I was like, I'm ready for dinner. So anyway, I ended up going to dinner with Dan and Q and all of these guys. And after they were done having this meeting, and it became social, I said to Dave Lagsholt, who was the one of the original Hooters 6, I said, so who's doing the marketing? And he said, we haven't even broken ground yet. And kind of like giggled, at me like, oh, pretty little girl, just kind of sit there,
Right.
And so I replied, great, I haven't graduated from college yet, but I will in a month. And so he looked at me and he's like, are you serious? And I was like, yeah, I need a job. And he goes, all right, send me your resume tomorrow. So I did. I sat down, sent him my resume, and I said, I don't want to work for Hooters. I don't want to work for Brasserie Max. I don't want to work for Ugly Tuna Saloon. I want Dan Marino's restaurants, and I will take whatever you want to pay me, because, I'm a marketer. I'm like, all I need is a name to make money on that. So I didn't want to lose out because I was asking too much money. And clearly coming out of college and going into this restaurant industry, that there are more qualified people. So I was like, just give me a chance. Give me a chance. So he did. He gave me a chance. I started making $35,000 a year and ended up as one of their best marketers. We upgraded their golf tournaments. We had a fishing tournament, which they had never done before. And like from Seguso to, you name it. It was like the who's who of the pro sports industry. Anyway, that's how I got the job. I worked for Danny until he retired. My title was Director of Marketing and Publicity, and we did the golf tournaments and the fishing tournaments and different promotions in the restaurant. And our biggest billboard success was my knees may be bad, but my ribs are great. And that's how I went out on a bang, because Danny ended up retiring. Danny ended up retiring, and I started my own company.
I am so freaking, number one, proud of you. Number two, it takes grit. And I don't always do that. I'm not even trying to be that way, but it takes a lot of grit and that, hey, I'm here. I love that you did that, because not everyone would have. Not everyone would have. They would have been intimidated. Some people, you can say, oh, I would have done that. But when you're around these big people in the industry, you've got this famous celebrity, and you're like, hey, I'm just proud of you for doing it, because that's how it starts, right? You have to take those risks. So you took a risk and you won. And you won.
I did.
I love that.
I did.
I love that. Okay,
but,
so now you go ahead. Finish what you're saying.
I was just going to say, if it hadn't been for, if I hadn't been Alligator Woman,
mm-hmm.
and learning to depend on me, and understanding that if I didn't go out and sing my own song, nobody else would. If, every time I was rejected by an agent, my sister, who's 17 months older than I, she ended up getting an agent. I didn't. So everything that she did, I did on my own, self-marketed. So if she was doing a calendar, I created my own calendar. Like, I just was like, fine, these people are idiots. If they can't see that they've got two double mint twins here, dark-skinned Black girls, that's an industry rarity. And fairness to both of us, without sounding too arrogant, they should have picked us up. We were beautiful. We were young. And for someone selling pretty, they missed the mark. So I was like, if they're that stupid, I don't want them as my marketer anyway. So I really taught myself to speak up and self-market.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I was bold enough to be like, yeah, I want this job. So it really is it's a self-esteem journey.
It is. And, that's interesting, because, we're all in the world of self-development. I mean, when it comes to what you're doing, what I do, that's the journey. You have to be willing to go through the tough stuff. You have to be willing to hear a lot of no's. And I think a lot of people, we're in this place where we have so many entrepreneurs coming out. When you go through things like COVID and quarantine, every time there's something like that in the world, that's when you see the entrepreneurs just soar, right? You see people who take advantage of what's going on, and they find solutions, they find needs, they fill the needs, right? But you also see the sad part of that, the people who cannot get out of victim mode, and the people who cannot advance away. And we were just having great conversations. I was talking to an incredible woman this week. She's at the top of her game. She's been there for years. She's in the MLM space, number one. She's been number one. Black woman, just incredible, public speaker. And, we were talking about these things, this victimhood. You see these people who they'll sit in that, and they'll sit there, and you can see it. And it's like, you got to get out of this. You got to get out of this. And I think in societal, norms, and when you have cultural things, and you're talking about it, like how you just kept going through, and that little girl pushing that doll, that's it.
Yeah.
Like, that's what she thought. How do we change that? How do we have to show this? And so you're one of those women leading the charge and changing little girls. Okay. You're changing little girls right now and giving them that confidence and showing them they're beautiful. They're beautiful. So let's talk about the movement. Let's talk about it right now. So you're done with Dan Moreno. What happened next? Dan's done. Let's go. What's next?
Dan's done. Dan and Dana are over. I started Hill Girl Inc., which was a PR and special events firm. And it was Hill Girl Inc. That I, again, decided after being coerced by my clients to do the billboard. And then that went on for 7 years. And then, I decided to leave South Florida and move to Atlanta, and then created, the Black Doll Affair in my kitchen. I literally sat down after I watched the Oprah show. So this was, out of work, out of a lot of money, doing what most women did who, wasn't working. I was watching the Oprah show at 4 p.m. And so after that show, my girlfriends, everybody just started sending me, like, every time I opened up AOL, you've got mail. Did you see Oprah? You got to click this link. Look at Oprah. I can't believe our kids are still failing the doll test. And it was like one email after the next to one day I finally was like, I saw it. Don't send me this anymore. All right already. Everybody's bitching about it, but nobody's going to do anything about it. Right. And I literally said that out loud. And I felt in that moment, and it was just as real as this moment. When I said, what are you going to do about it? I literally heard it felt like a reverberation. What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? To the degree that it stopped me in my tracks. And I was like, I mean, I guess I can't really ask what they're going to do about it if I'm not going to do anything about it. And so I sat down and I thought, okay, if I could solve this problem, what would I do about it? And at the time, one of my favorite movies that was trending was The Thomas Crown Affair. So I needed a name. And I was like, okay, I would create this Christmas party. And I would ask Black women and women of all races, because I want it to be about empowerment, not Black power, and men of all races to join me in having a Black doll affair. And I was like, oh, that's good, Black doll affair. And I was like, I can't help but wonder if that came from Thomas Crown Affair. And the CD was sitting out on my desk. So I do say that that's where that came from. And so the Black women would show up as the Black doll. And I would ask them to wear a T-shirt that says Black doll. You've got to be pretty bold and feeling yourself to walk around in a T-shirt that says Black doll, right? And so I asked them to feel empowered enough to put on the Black doll T-shirt and arrive at these parties as the living doll. And whether they were ballerina Barbie or astronaut Barbie or mommy Barbie, wherever they were in their life, show up as the Black doll. Talk to these little girls about life as the Black doll. The challenges, no sense in blowing smoke up their tutus.
I like that.
As well as the magic of it all, right? Like, yeah, it's going to be really hard for you, and you weren't born on a playground where people embrace you. In fact, you're going to be the lowest on society's totem pole. But here's how you're going to rock that. And so I asked women, non-Black women, to put on a white T-shirt that said doll. Ironically, so many of them want to wear the Black T-shirt that says Black doll because, fully embracing the movement. But I created the white T-shirt that just says doll of the Black doll affair for what I would call my porcelain pals. And I said, I need for you all to do what I can't do, what the Black dolls can't do. I need for you to come to life and talk to these little girls and tell them that they should be proud of who they are, and make them understand that their hair is unlike yours, and that they're unique, and that their skin is beautiful, and that, why would you choose the white doll? Do you not understand how beautiful you are? Do you not understand that you're fueling a multi-billion-dollar lip injection and hip injection industry?
Yeah.
Like really talk to them about their point of view as the white doll. I can't do that. I'm not the doll they chose. And so with men, I asked them to come on board as Black doll brothers. And I needed for them to do what the dolls can't do, Black or white. Empower a girl in only a way that a man can. Only a man, preferably our fathers, if you've got a healthy household where you grow up and dad's in the home, only a man can tell you from a man point of view and empower a girl in a manly way, right? Nothing like a masculine voice with, his big hands and sitting a little girl on his lap and with his masculine voice and saying, hey, you're a doll, not a dog. Don't let them put your bowl on the floor, right? Or whatever it is they want to say. But that's not something that we can do because we're not men, right? And yet so I wanted it really to be sort of this diverse family affair. But I also understood that from watching Carrie's doll test and hearing mom say, don't, stop growing your hair naturally. You're starting to look too African. I also understood that this needed to be for women as well, because at the end of the day, these little girls grow up and few people are having black doll affairs, right? We just grow up and we're paying the bills and we're scoring points in corporate America, but few people are sent to self-esteem school. So that was the black doll affair. And 15 years later, this little concept that could has been, it landed on Barack Obama's desk. We got a Presidential Service Award because one of the things I asked the black dolls to do was to counteract some of the negative stuff we see on television of black women behaving badly. To go out on Saturday, if they're watching black girls behaving badly on Atlanta Housewives on Friday, then on Saturday morning, kids are going to get up and see black dolls in the street, giving back, feeding the homeless, going and helping people in need. Barack Obama did too, so he gave us a Presidential Service Award. Congressman John Lewis, we were in his territory in Atlanta, so he recognized us on Congress floor and gave us congressional recognition. We partnered with Barbie, who, the Oprah Winfrey of her industry.
Yes.
We became the largest consumer group of Black Barbie. Which is how we got Mattel to open the door to pick up my calls. Because every time the dolls get together, we have something called Be a Doll, Give a Doll. Be a Doll means put on the t-shirt so that we can identify you as a doll and they know that you're proud to be that. And Give a Doll means whether we're feeding the homeless or we're going to rent a cabin and bond as dolls, for a social event, we always brought dolls to donate, because on the first Saturday of every December around the country, the Black Doll Affair has what I did on December 7th, 2017, is we throw the Black Doll Affair Christmas party and give away these dolls. So we've got Gabrielle Union that now calls herself a black doll, Misty Copeland, ballerina Misty Copeland. Tay Diggs is a black doll brother. We've got Senator Nan Orrick, white woman who was one of the first women to march with Dr. King during the Civil Rights Movement when it wasn't popular.
Right.
It's just a collection. It's crazy. The other day I was walking through my house and I had a book out, because we're kind of trying to curate things now in the Black Doll Affair. And the book is From Africa to America, the psychological journey of the Black American. So it's a college textbook. Chapter 3, there is the Black Doll Affair and Dana Hill. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, it's so crazy.
That's crazy. I love it though.
It's crazy.
Oh my gosh, Dana, this is nuts. Yeah. Like, I'm going to stop you because everything you just said is like, what? What? You started out in South Dan Moreno, and now look what you're doing. One thing you said though, here, we got to go here, because I like that you said, and it's not just Black women behaving badly, but I know we're trying to, that's what we're talking about. But when you see, here's something, when you see, I don't think women empowerment, and this goes in here, when I see people on stage grinding on each other, 2 women at the awards and calling it women empowerment, that is not the message you want. That is not the message. The sad part is, in this last couple of years, the media has been focused on that. Like, this is the women's empowerment. We can take out Black women, but that's really, no, it's not women's empowerment. That is not women's empowerment. That is trash. And I'm going to say that right now on my show. That is complete garbage. And so I think it's amazing how you said that when you see somebody, this reality TV, and then it's like, okay, get out and show these young women what it really is. Okay. Because that's incredible. And that's why you're on this show, because women's empowerment and Black women's empowerment, that's important. And these little girls see that.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
No, I'm done. I'm done. I just wanted to say that. Like, how do you feel about that though? When you see, now I'm not going to knock art, but that's not art to me either. 2 women on stage grinding at an award show and then calling it women's empowerment is mind blowing to me. But you have 2 Black women doing it, and it's like, what does that say? That it's not good for anyone to do it, but that's where your movement is so important, in my opinion. Like, what you're doing is so important to me as a woman. So I mean, how do you feel about that kind of stuff?
So it's complicated. I feel that sex needs to be on television after hours, period.
Sure.
I feel that, that was inappropriate. I watched it going, what the hell? Like, where are we?
Where are we?
I'm
Exactly.
50.
I do the same thing. I'm like, what is this?
Yeah, I'm 50. So I know that, someone in their 20s would just tell me that I'm old, and I, it's fine. But I grew up in, where watching television and parents had the separate twin beds. So this is an evolutionary moment for me.
Mhm.
I grew up on where you couldn't say damn on television. So as I sat and watched that, I just thought, where are we? When I see, Cardi B's video drip wet or wet dripping or whatever
Yeah.
it's called,
Mhm.
I just think pornography.
Well, it is. I mean,
Do
pretty much.
I? Yeah, I mean it's soft porn.
Yeah.
It's do I am I and yet I am one of the most liberal people you ever want to meet. I am
Mhm.
all about wear your dress, to the back or to the front, pink or blue, male or female. I really say live and let live.
Sure.
I just think that for everything, there is an appropriate moment. I didn't find that appropriate. I think when you talk about female empowerment, you've got to allow people to color their worlds the way they want to. I
Mhm.
have, I doubt that I am Cardi B's cup of tea, or all the other ones that are new on the scene, and that's
Mhm.
fine. Cardi B is who she is. I think
Yeah.
that she is a phenomenon because she truly embraces Cardi B. She has
Mhm.
made no apologies for the way she acts, the way she talks, the way she dresses, and I think that's the appeal to
Mhm.
Cardi is that she doesn't ask permission to live out loud, and I think that's what we're all trying to get to. So I don't want to knock any of those women, and they're not new at it. We saw Madonna doing this
Oh
in the 80s,
no, it's not new.
right?
It's not new.
It's not new. What's new is that it's done on prime time. That's what's new.
Yes.
Um, and so while that had me clenching my pearls as I watched it, because I was like, and same thing with Saturday Night Live when it was on, when they were performing. I forget the girl's name, it escapes me now. She's really hot, but she had a sexy little performance on Saturday Night Live. And again, I grew up in the Dan Aykroyd Saturday Night Live area, so a little different. But I get it. And I thought, okay, well, it is Saturday Night Live. It's a little later, but I feel like we are entering into a world that we kind of have to go to in
Mhm.
order to get where we need to go. And what I mean by that is, back in the day, we really were uptight. We were
Yeah.
pretending that mom and dad weren't sleeping in the same bed. And when the lights went out, they weren't crawling into that twin bed together,
Right.
you know. uh, so we knew that was happening. There was just a curtain behind it. So we did need to become a little bit more liberal. I was always the child that my mother would and my grandparents would be like, that child refuses to put on clothes. Like, I just hated clothes, and
Mhm.
that's my spirit. I'm a bra hating kind of gal. When I'm at home alone, I'm usually naked. I'm not married. That's my choice. I used to always
Right.
say to my mom, hey, listen, I don't want to get married. Oh, don't say that. You're too young to say that. I'm like, no, I think I could say that. I think, well, why would you say that? Well, I don't see where it's working, and
Right.
for the people that are staying married, they don't seem to touch much anymore. So I've always been observant of human nature. I've always been the type of person to embrace, if everybody's going left, I'm going right, because girls' bathroom. I had
Right.
to learn to embrace me. So I do embrace that in others. I just think that there's a time and a place for everything when it comes to etiquette. The problem that I have being mom doll is people want me to be their role model, their daughter's role model.
Sure.
And I stop them in their tracks. I don't want to be your daughter's role model. Because I don't want that label. And I always say the black dolls are not role models. because the minute someone says, oh, you're my role model, you're my icon, then they're
Right.
saying, don't be human. Don't step out of this myopic view that I have of you, and don't piss me off. Right. So I say, you go be the role model to your kids. I opted out of having children. Always wanted to have a baby, never wanted kids. So you go do that. I'll do this. And if what I'm doing approves of the way you want your child to navigate her life, fine. But I don't want to be your role model, because I want to be me. And I don't want to have to ask permission, and I don't want to have to apologize when I do something that you think is quote unquote wrong. So I think that's why I say I think it's a slippery slope. I think that we have to give women permission to be as conservative as 8 days a week in church as they want to be, and as flamboyantly in their sexuality as they want to be. Our only responsibility when it comes to girls is making sure that it's at it's appropriate age. And so the Black Doll Affair is for women and girls. And so when we have Black Doll Affairs, we're all getting together and going for martinis, and women show up with their little girls, and it's like, oh, and it's like, I have to pull them to the side. Listen, this is the Black Doll Affair. We put out, on the invitation, no children. And they'll be like, oh, well, that's the Black Doll Affair, no children. No, children are allowed at appropriate Black Doll Affairs. But since this is a social club for adult women, we want to be able to get together, drink our martinis, smoke our cigarettes if that's what you do, or and talk about that son of a whatever you want to call him, biscuit eater, and not have to put tape over our mouths because the little girls are there. So there is a divide. Tween summits are for tween girls, and we have those conversations that are tween aged. But when we have Black Doll Affairs and we're all getting together and it's Friday night and we're going out and we're shaking our booties, we're not going to be your role models. We're not. So it's a slippery slope.
But here's the thing. I know I put you on the spot, and I'm not trying to say you don't have to put anyone down. I think where I'm going with this is, yes, women can do whatever they want. I'm all about that. I'm all about women's empowerment. But calling something that, when you're forcing it on an entire audience, and the same thing happened. You said it with Madonna and Britney Spears. It was the same thing. Like, it was forced. It was shown. It's not that it's rare. It happens all the time. It's entertainment industry. We get in the entertainment industry, anything goes, right? You know this. I know this. That's what we do. We like to. We always have to shake things up to get to where we need to go. So you're absolutely right about that. We do have to shake it up. And I love being bold. I love shaking things up too. Trust me. I do love it. I think what my issue is when you're forcing it upon children. When you force that social thing upon children, when they're like exposed, like what you said, like, hey, we don't have kids here. The kids need to be kids, right? We need to allow our children to be children for a while. They don't need to grow up when they're 10. They need to be 10. They need to be 5, 10, have the experiences. And you know what? When they become an adult and they want to have those experiences, go for it. You're an adult. Like, even when they're when they're ready, but we need to allow that development, because when we force a child to become an adult way too early, this is what we're seeing. We're seeing confusion, mental illness, and we're seeing these and insecurities. That's where insecurities come. You don't know who you are. And so we want to create these healthy environments. And that's really where I'm going. And so women's empowerment to me is just creating that healthy environment so you can be that bold, fierce, freaking doll at the end of the day. And that's what we want, whatever you choose. If you're, like you said, if you're way over to the right, way over to the left, whatever, you're still a doll. And we want you to have that and empower yourself. And I also, for me, we shouldn't idolize anyone. We should idolize ourselves and God. That's my view. That doesn't have to be everyone's view, but you need to love yourself. Put yourself on that pedestal and be proud of yourself. So I think it's great. I think this is what you're doing. And I absolutely love that. Your story is amazing. Dana, we are so grateful that you got on here. I know you're driving, and this has been crazy. All the technical difficulties, all good. We love it. Anything as we wrap, how can people find you? We're going to throw your links up, but what's happening? What's in the future for the dolls? And how can people find you?
So you can find us on social media at Black Doll Affair. You can find us on Clubhouse. Same thing, the Black Doll Affair. You can become a doll and get more information at blackdollaffair.com. Our slogan is no membership fee, just buy your doll tee. And then from there, you join us collectively, the Black Dolls, and you join us in empowering women and girls.
Wow.
And we're very Googleable. So,
okay. Yeah,
there's that.
We love that. And we love what you're doing. And thank you so much. Thank you for being on the show. We really enjoyed it. And for all our listeners and viewers, Dana, Mama Doll, she is incredible. Go find her. And this has been another episode of Grit and Grace. I'm Shylo Bjiold.
Now, glutathione is a big word, but it's the body's own master antioxidant. So it's a scavenger for free radicals, for bacteria, and what's relevant now, viruses. This is new to the marketplace. There's no other product on the market that has the ingredient NACET.
And basically NACET increases the production of that glutathione that is in our body already to strengthen and enhance our immune system and keep it strong. Elevated sense of well-being. Supports muscle strength and endurance. Cognitive function. Powerful liver support. Energy. Helps blood sugar regulation. Superior bioavailability of key ingredients.
One of your best defenses against COVID is a strong immune system. Taking GSH Plus as a daily supplement does all that. And now we have the product out on the marketplace.